My name is Lasin Kusewa, a graduate of Ghana Christian International High School. I urge you all to subscribe to His Love TV. Thank you.
Hello there, you're welcome to my channel. In today's lesson, we are going to take a look at the Fante Confederation, of course, which I know is a familiar topic to some of you. We are basically going to take a look at the reasons for the formation of the Fante Confederation. We will look at why the Confederation was formed and the reasons behind that. So basically, so that is going to be our lesson for today. But before we begin with our lesson objectives, I would like to remind you to subscribe to our channel if you are new here. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you very much for your support. So let's begin our lesson with our lesson objectives for today. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to discuss the reasons that led to the formation of the Fante Confederacy. So if you are asked anywhere to discuss the reasons or to examine the reasons that led to the formation of the Fante Confederation, you should be able to do that by the end of this lesson. And so if you find it in your WASI exams, you should be able to do that. So let's begin with our introduction. Now, the formation of the Fante Confederation was one of the first self-rule movement formed by the southern states to resist colonialism in the Gold Coast. So self-rule movement, one of the first, and this was the first self-rule movement formed by the southern states or the coastal states, particularly the Fante. You know, we've all known, or we've known in history, that the Fantes have never come together to form a unified state like the Asante or those in the interior, in the forest of course region, like what Asante did. The Fantes were separate. You know, Anmabo, or the chief of Anmabo, is independent of the chief of Mankesim or the chief of Cape Coast. And so in history, the southern states have always been independent, you know, of the other. They have never come together to form a union. And so the Fante Confederation was the first of its kind, whereby all these Fante or southern states, as we call them, came together, and the aim was to resist colonialism in the Gold Coast. All right, good. Now, the Fante Confederation was founded in 1868 at Mankesim, and Mankesim is one of the biggest towns among the Fante, and that is where the Confederation was formed in 1868. Now, the Fante Confederation included some of the states that form part of the Confederation. Some of the Fante states were Abra, Anmabo, Mankesim itself, and Gumwa, and then etc., etc. Now, bear in mind that even though the name is Fante States, Fante Confederation, the members of the Confederation were not only Fantes. There were some non-Fante states which were also part of the Confederation, and we will take a look at the reasons why these Fante states actually joined the Confederation. Now, when you ask about some of these non-Fante states that joined the Confederation, we had the Dintra people, we had the Wasa state, we had the Trifo state, we have the Asin state, and then we also have the Seshi state. These states were non-Fante states. However, they came to join, or they joined the Fante Confederation. All right, and so in the exams, the examiner can try to trick you by asking you of some non-Fante states. When you are asked of some non-Fante states that joined the Fante Confederation, you are not supposed to be mentioning Abra and Mabo, Kogomwa. These are Fante states. So non-Fante states that joined the Confederation were the Dintra, the Wasa, Asin, and Co. And the Fante states that also joined were the Anmabo, Komankesim, Kogomwa, and the others. All right. So when you look on your right, you could see there is this emblem over there with an elephant and a palm tree. That was the emblem of the Fante Confederation. Today we may say the crest, all right? Yeah, so the emblem of the Fante Confederation is what you find over there. And the GC represents Gold Coast, all right? Now, the map under the emblem has to do with the map of the southern states, and so try and locate where some of these states are, especially Anamabo, Abra, Amankesim, and all of that, because we shall later come back to the map and take a look at the issues over there. So now let's go or dive into the reasons for the formation of the Fante Confederation. Now, the first, of course, reason for the formation of the Fante Confederation was the desire to unite against the Asante, and that is the Fante's desire to unite against the Asante invasion. Asante in history have invaded the Fante states for quite a very long time, and I have a video where I have for reasons why Asante would constantly invade the southern states. And so the Fantes at this point were bearing, the brunt of the Asante invasion, and so they decided to come together to unite, and fight back the Asante. Now, one particular incident happened which actually rekindled this spirit of coming together to fight against the Asante. There was one Asante invasion of the southern states in 1863. Now, the Fantes at this point have gone in an agreement with the British, to actually defend them anytime. The British, the Asantes invade. Okay, so it is an agreement. The Fantes have an agreement with the British. Indeed, the British have actually promised to defend the Fantes anytime the Asantes invade. All right, and so there was an Asante invasion in 1863, and the British, delayed in coming to rescue the Fante. And even the Fantes came, the British came, the counter invasion delayed. And so even by the time the British came, the worst had already been committed. And so that, made the Fante states to actually realize that no, we must take our own, we must be responsible for our own security. And so they decided to come together to form an army against the Asante, and that was a reason, or one of the reasons, for the formation of the Fante Confederation. Now, let's take a look at another important, reason that led to the formation of the Fante Confederation, and this had to do with the Sweet River Convention in 1867. Now, the Sweet River Convention was basically an agreement between the Dutch and the British. Now, they had agreed to exchange forts and castles along the coast, which means that all forts and castles east of the Sweet River were to be given to the British, whilst west of the Sweet River were also to be given to the Dutch. The Sweet River Island is in Kakum. Now, this exchange of forts, as we are talking about, infuriated both the Fante and the non-Fante states. They didn't like the idea of the British and the Dutch exchanging forts along the coast, basically because they were not consulted in this agreement. But most importantly, the people of Komenda and Wassa and Tintra, before this exchange of forts and castles, were under the British. And Asante had constantly been attacking these southern states, Tintra, Wassa, Chufo, and Co., including the people of Komenda. And so, before the exchange of the forts and castles, they were under the British. So anytime Asante invade, you find the British in there to protect them or to support them. However, with the exchange of forts and castles, these states that I have mentioned, Komenda, Wassa, Tintra, and Co., were all going to be under the Dutch influence. And the Dutch have been the traditional ally of the Asante. for a very long time. The Dutch have been trading well. They have cordial relationship with the Asante. And so these states, Commander especially, Wasa Dintra and Co., felt that if they allow the agreement to take place, which means that they were going to be under the Dutch, and if they are under the Dutch, it is very easy for Asante to invade them and the Dutch will not intervene. All right. Now let me get my cursor and show you the map. Let me use the map to explain to you, because some of my students do not get this area very well. Now this is we have Wasa here, which is part. We have Dinchura here. Okay. We have Eguafo, and this is the commander people that we are talking about. Now this area used to be under the Dutch, under the British. All this area used to be under the British. Okay, but with the exchange of fort, the Dutch were going to take all the forts along this coast, this area. Okay, which then means that these people who already before the Dutch, before the exchange, were under the Dutch, were under the British, were under the British, are now going to be under the Dutch. Now Asante is here. Should in case of any Asante invasion, they know that the Dutch will give them to the Asante. All right, and so they decided to rebel. Okay, and Commander, for instance, decided not to allow it to take place. However, the people, the Dutch bombarded them. They fought them. Also, even the British, upon hearing that, also reacted by bombarding the people of Commander. And so the Confederation formed, they met in Mantesim, formed an army to support Commander in that regard. Okay, now let's take a look at the next of the reasons that led to the formation of the Fante Confederation. The next one had to do with the role of the educated elite. Now, these educated elites were very, common along the coast or in the southern states, and they had read widely. And there was a British Parliamentary Committee for recommendation somewhere in 1867, which had recommended that the British leave the coast. And so, upon the hearing of this, statement from the British Parliament, some educated elites such as D.L. Carr, Joseph Martin, Thomas Hughes, Thomas Martin Brew, F.C. Grant, J.A. Houghton, D. Graham Johnson, they then rallied the chief and told them that this is what is going to happen, and therefore we should all come together and rule ourselves. And so that is also a reason that accounted for the formation of the Fante Confederation. Then last of the reasons for that led to the formation of the Fante Confederation had to do with the ill treatment of King Agri of Cape Coast. Now, King Agri was a king in Cape Coast. He was exiled to Sierra Leone by Conran, for Government Conran, in 1866, and then he returned in 1869 as a private citizen, not as a chief any longer. Why was King Agri exiled? One, he was exiled because he refused to allow his subjects, his people, to refer cases on appeal to the British, for castle or court, because the British had demanded that all cases on appeal should be brought to the castle. And King Agri said, no, these are my subjects, and I've been with him from time immemorial. I'm not going to allow any case to be transferred from my palace to the British court. Again, he also refused to, the British actually declared the people of Cape Coast as their subjects, so they were British subjects. King Agri again refused that these are my subjects, they are my people, and they can never be a British people. And therefore, he also rejected the British branding of the people of Cape Coast as a British subject. The last one was that he refused to grant a land for document for the land around for Cape Coast Castle to the British. And so these and many more reasons, King Agri was actually exiled, and that was also a wake-up call to the chiefs in the southern states to also come together, because if it can happen to King Agri, then it can happen to everyone. So they also decided to come together to form a union and fight for themselves. Good. I hope you have enjoyed our lesson. Let's try and see some try or work for question over there. Highlight any 5 reasons for the formation of the Fante Confederation in 1868 at Mankesin. And this was an object question 2012. Do not forget to subscribe. I hope if you meet this question, you will be able to do that. Have a nice day and thank you very much for your time.